Hi everyone, my name is Erica Ortega and I'm part of the EDG 5414 class. I'm going to go ahead and present to you my Microteach 2. I am currently working on this assignment alone because I'm part of the master's program, but I'm just going to go ahead and share with you a few different things that maybe I didn't go too in depth over in my Microteach 1. In my Microteach 1, I went ahead and I set up the lesson to show you guys how the lesson would actually happen in my classroom. But now I'm just going to go ahead and go over some of the key details that our professor wants us to share with you. So I'm going to go ahead and flip you guys over onto my laptop so you can actually see my lesson plan format. So as you can see here, this is my lesson plan format. I went ahead and I covered all the things that our professor asked for us to have on our actual lesson plan. I went ahead and I just made a 2-column chart on Word, and I added some clip art. I have the references and all the good stuff that she asked us to have. For this Microteach, she wanted us to really go over the differentiated instruction and how we would go ahead and reach those different learners that we have in our classrooms. So for my ELL strategies, I would have using illustrations and diagrams, as you saw in my first Microteach. I showed you those anchor charts that I would make and use for my students. And then another ELL strategy would be repetition. This is really important, especially for those ESOL students, because if they don't speak English, you want to actually repeat the directions to them and even possibly ask them to repeat back what you're asking them to do. That's a great strategy to use in the classroom. Now for those ESE students, you want to go ahead and break assignments into smaller pieces. Give those students additional time to complete work. You want to also sit students away from windows or doors to avoid distraction, and to as well repeat instructions and have them go ahead and give those instructions back to you. These are great strategies that I use constantly in my classroom, and usually with these ESE students, they have a 504 plan or an IEP, so those ESE strategies are given to you because they are made at the IEP or 504 meetings yearly. So you would go ahead and choose those different strategies that are given to you, and you would be placing them on your lesson plans. Now for those students with behavior issues, those would be a behavior individualized plan, so those BIPs. Proximity control is a really big one. You want to always make sure that you're monitoring the classroom, walking around, redirecting those students. So proximity control is always standing really close to those behavior kids so they know that you're on top of them and you're watching them. Now another great strategy that I use in my classroom is giving those students peer support, so they can work with a buddy, or maybe they can help a student who's a little bit lower, academically lower than they are. So it could kind of give them a distraction away from not behaving so well. And then you can also make them your teacher helper in the classroom, have them pass out papers or any materials or supplies that you're going to be using during your lesson. Okay, those are all a great way to go ahead and manage those behavior issues. Another thing that our professor wanted us to go ahead and go over was kind of the format of our lesson, which I explained to you that we would be learning about the butterfly life cycle. Now this lesson can be done in one day if you were actually presenting in front of your professor or videotaping for your professor. However, in a real life setting classroom, I would probably spread this activity and this standard throughout the week. Now maybe the first day I would go ahead and read The Very Hungry Caterpillar and go over and create that anchor chart with the students together, and then the next day maybe I would play the Metamorphosis song to go ahead and reintroduce the lesson and to review what we learned the previous day. Then that day we would start coloring our butterfly, and then the third day I would go ahead and go back to our anchor chart, review, and then go ahead and start gluing the dry pasta and the beans and putting together our actual lesson. Now, if you were doing this in one day and you wanted the students to go ahead and really bring back what they learned the following day, then you would send home that home learning the same day. If not, usually what we do is we create a homework packet and that worksheet would be in the homework packet on one of the days throughout the week that we're learning about the butterfly life cycle. So one of the things that professor asked me to go ahead and edit in my lesson plan was to go ahead and add some more differentiated instruction strategies. Now, unless a student actually has an IEP or 504 with those accommodations listed, you really have to go in and research what can you do for those kids if they don't have that 504 or that IEP or that BIP. Now, unfortunately, if these students are not labeled, we cannot give them those accommodations in the real classroom setting. But I think that as teachers, we're constantly giving accommodations without even realizing it, because we want to have all of our kids succeed. And I think that's a great thing for us, because we do work hard, and we just keep trying to see what can work and what can't work, and we're just constantly learning and exploring and finding those different ideas to work with our students and to meet all the needs of our different learners in our classroom. So yeah, these are some more tips and ideas that I usually use every day, but this is my butterfly life cycle lesson. So I hope you guys enjoy. Hi, have a good night. Bye-bye.